Hello, Global Gladiators. We're back with Street Masters Rise of the Kingdom, and today we're going to be looking at the bad guys. We're going to start with, from the Golden Dragons, Ah Long. When you typically play against him as a member of the Golden Dragons, he has a separate set of cards called the Heavenly Dragon cards that you slowly integrate into the rest of the minion deck as you pull for your threat cards. This buffs him up quite a bit, and this buffing translates later when we look at some other types of cards that he may have. Using him as an enemy, though, is not the only means of getting the most for your money from your purchase of Street Masters Rise of the Kingdom. He comes in also as a rival or an ally. He's a great ally to have. He can do 2 attacks for 3 dice, which is very high, and that goes against 2 enemies. So he can really help you with those minions as a rival if he's not engaged as part of his story. His attacks that have a lot to do with being engaged with fighters or other minions, and he can gain random defense tokens. This is pretty powerful with his 10 health and 4 attacks against you. It can add a lot of challenge to the map, but that's not necessarily the most value you can get out of your purchase. He's also in the redemption pack, where he's a full fighter, and he's got a lot of really cool abilities and different techniques. So let's take a look at that for the rest of this video. What distinguishes Ah Long from the fighters you would normally play, and why you would want to buy the redemption pack, is his ability to attach Bane cards to enemies. So you could get channeled effects from fighters like Megan, or you had combo cards like Brandon has that would fit in your hand. A set of cards that affects other cards in the game. That mechanic just happens to relate to attaching to enemies for Ah Long. Let's look at how that works by first looking at his character card. Even on his basic attack, you can see he's super versatile. You're drawing cards, you can pick whatever type of damage you want to do, and you get to attach a card from your hand to the target. What this means is, even though you may play a regular card, you're going to get a card from your deck and you're going to be able to attach. Those attachments are only going to be to engage targets, because he doesn't have any ranged abilities. So maybe you might want to think about which enemies you do this to. I would suggest using them on the boss or anything else that's going to stick around for a while. Every card in his deck has a Bane effect, and you can see from the charge side of his card that all of the Bane effects that are done to a single target are going to trigger on this charge side. If he's going to be standing next to the boss, if he's going to be engaged all the time, he's going to be picking up a lot of damage. So his defense tokens are going to keep converting into power. Only 5 power flips his card, so very quickly he's just going to be doing Bane effects left and right, left and right, left and right. Those Bane effects are the balance you have to decide. You can either play those cards for yourself with their regular abilities, or you can start figuring how you're going to attach them to enemies for the long term. This decision is super critical for these 2 cards, as they are starred unique tactic cards. That means that if you want to play Divine Focus or Judgment as a tactic, that's fine, but if later you want to use it as a Bane card to attach to the boss, which, let's face it, gives you power multiplied by every single round that you do an attack, because it allows you to do resolution of those Bane effects. They're both pretty powerful. Exhausting to be able to draw a card for any fighter will make someone like Brandon super powerful. Being able to, at the start of your hand, automatically attach cards from your hand so you don't even have to attack. You could use Judgment instead of your action and use your actions for other things. That's a heck of a balance, because Judgment will allow you to do an extra 2 attacks for each fighter engaged with an enemy. So if you attach this to the boss and you have 4 fighters, that's 2 damage dice plus whatever other bonuses to attacks that the other fighters have every round if you want it. It's a difficult balance. And you're going to have to figure out as you move through the game which one's more important to you at the time. If you use the Bane card and you have a tactic in play, the tactic goes away. If you have a Bane card in play and now you want to use it as a tactic because you have another one in your hand, that Bane card is going to get discarded. Try to maximize the effectiveness of this technique, because some effects on the cards will force you to discard a card that you control, and you might as well sacrifice a card that you want to replace anyway. There is a tactic card that this does not apply to because it doesn't have a star. That's Path to Purity. You can put 1 or 2 Bane cards on the boss and have the tactic card in play if you have all 3 of them out for you. If you have 2 of them, that means that the enemy, every time you resolve, is going to do 2 damage to each enemy around it, which is the normal single card effect. You don't get to, say, multiply it, and if you have 2 Path to Purities and you are resolving 1 card Bane effect, just because they're the same card doesn't mean you get to resolve it twice. You only get to resolve it once. So when you use the charge side, when you get to resolve all of them, it does a lot of cool damage. The other thing it lets you do is exhaust, and you can attach cards from the top of your deck at a range. This is really your only ranged attack, and makes it so you don't have to get too close to the boss if you're not ready to do that yet, but you can still get the benefits. 5 spaces away is usually enough to be out of the range of a boss, and that can be really helpful. A strategy you may have is to put all of the Path to Purity cards as tactic cards in your play area and mill down your deck as quickly as possible by attaching 3 cards every round to the boss. The downside is you'll have to figure out a way to do a discard by the time you get to the end. This may be super crucial if there are a lot of minions on the board that are near the boss. It may not matter at all to you, and you can use all the other Bane cards. The effects from the Bane cards include more damage, healing, movement, just about everything you could want. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's almost better towards the end to have every card stacked up on the boss and have him do all of the damage to the other minions for you while your other fighters focus on giving you healing, trying to get more power so that you can keep flipping and resolve all the Bane cards at one time. If you had all 20 Bane cards sitting on the boss and you hit him with the charge side, it's gonna be nuts. That's what I got for Along. I hope that you can see that just with one of the 6 fighters, the Redemption Pack is pretty awesome. And if you have questions, comments, concerns, I'm available. Have a good one.